Hello and welcome to the Sport for Business Daily. We're dropping in on the sport of hockey today. We don't get to speak about it too much, but it is one of those sports which in recent years has really taken on a new lease of life. We obviously have a women's team that have qualified for the Tokyo Olympics. They gave us a fabulous insight into the sport and raising of spirits when they got to the World Cup final in England not so long ago. And then, of course, they qualified just a little over a year ago to get down to Tokyo with games against Canada in Dublin. And it has been a sport that has obviously been disrupted like every other. And we're joined this morning by Simon MacAllister, who is a partner in EY, long-term sponsors of the EY Hockey League. You're very welcome to Sport for Business, Simon.
Thank you very much.
Tell me something, as a sponsor, how has it been for you seeing the momentum that was there in relation to the league actually dissipating and being taken off the pitches through COVID?
Yeah, I mean, it's been difficult for us because we're keen to see matches being played. We're keen to see the league, getting back to the momentum that it's had in previous years, and to see the ongoing development that has, gone with the game as part of, not just our sponsorship, but the new sort of structures and the new focus that's come on the game because of that All-Ireland League. I think it's been interesting because it has brought, I think, again, it's like other sports, it's brought a focus on the sort of back office and the business of the game, as it were, in terms of how governing bodies can keep, their show on the road. They have overheads, cost bases, they have staff they need to keep employed. They have things they want to continue to do, even if sport isn't being played. And, that then brings it back to the sponsorship and the impact that our and other sponsorships can have for hockey and for other governing bodies as well. So it's, it's really, we sympathize so much with people who are training very hard, then being told stand down again. And that kind of stop start is, it's analogous to some of the stop start we feel ourselves in the wider economy of, can we go back to the office? We start to loosen the restrictions a little bit and then we're all being locked down again. So there's that kind of constant yo-yo effect.
And sport is one of those things which has tried to helped us to get through, the last number of weekends in particular, when we've seen action at an elite level back and, television coverage, which has given us something to do other than just look at four walls. Your position as an advisory company is probably quite well suited then to helping a sport like hockey to get through that back office disruption to the routine that has been here. Has that been part of the relationship that's built up over the years, that it's more than just a branding exercise, that you're able to actually offer a degree of business expertise and business management to the sport?
I think it's continuing to develop that way. I mean, we've always been very clear to Hockey Ireland that our door is open if they want to have conversations about issues that, may pertain to the business of it. Certainly in the last year or two, we have started to keep in much more regular contact with Hockey Ireland so that there is more of a sharing of how each of us would, perceive the relationship to be developing, how we would perceive the sponsorship itself to be working, and continuing to build the contact through our respective teams around how we would activate the sponsorship and continue to get the most out of it for both of us. And that, ultimately for us, it's about us getting the benefit that we want to get out of it, but also making sure that they really get the most out of it. And that's not always just about the sponsorship amount itself, as you say.
And the league has expanded under your watch. Obviously, with the clubs developing, with the national team developing, with new facilities opening up. Is that something which you've watched with kind of a sense of pride almost as a group that has enabled that growth to actually take place?
Yeah, it definitely has. I mean, this is our 5th season sponsoring it, and I think we really, the timing of it, it was serendipitous. We really caught the sort of the crest of the wave as hockey started to develop. The All-Ireland League had been there for a season or two, but it had gone through some teething problems. They were being really quickly worked out. and the standard was rising really quickly. And then we had the ladies' success in particular, but also the men's success as well in tournaments, and then culminating the Olympics. So it has felt like that success, for Hockey in Ireland has just been building and building. I think the second division of the All-Ireland League is a natural enough progression of that. And so certainly we are really, satisfied and pleased to see that come through, because it gives that extra opportunity to clubs to start to bring some of the same competitive tension and competitive dynamics that are there in the top division, and playing teams out of province that they just don't tend to come up against in their domestic leagues. And that standard lifting for, rising all those boats, which then pushes up the top division and pushes up the national teams as well. So, and again, that second tier has been something that we know Hockey Ireland have put an awful lot of work into. It can be complicated. The interactions with the domestic leagues are not always straightforward. There is concerns around player welfare that have to be factored in and taken on board. So, working all that through has taken a lot of work, and getting it up and running. Disappointing then this year when it hits the same kind of stop-start as the main league. But we're confident that once it gets up and running again, it'll really be a successful part of the hockey environment here.
And what has the situation been like in terms of getting games played and getting an adapted season, back up and running? Where is the EY Hockey League as we sit here in December 2020?
Well, it's kind of, and the temperature is dropping this week, and it's the same analogy. It's in the deep freeze. I mean, it's been paused since the start of the most recent lockdown restrictions. Matches had been played. The table is there. There's points on the board. People have been training. I think the key thing for me, and I'm actively involved in that league as well as an umpire, so I'd seen firsthand how matches were taking place. The results of what the clubs, and with Hockey Ireland's guidance and Sport Ireland guidance, had done to put in place all of the human infrastructure, physical infrastructure, IT infrastructure around declarations to get the procedures in place to allow games to happen safely was just amazing. Like for what is a volunteer sport, and the vast majority of people who are doing a job in hockey are doing it for free, and they're doing it for the love of the game. The games ran really smoothly. They ran in games I was involved in. Not once did I ever have a moment where I was thinking that's a bit sort of dodgy. That doesn't look like it's in compliance with the policy. So it was a really, really successful return to play, and those return to play protocols were something that, again, we'd been in touch on to make sure that that they were something we were all collectively happy was going to be what would be needed to get that return to play safely. I think the other aspect of it has been a really fantastic adoption from the clubs of streaming. And it's probably going to be the year that is the sort of tipping point for games being streamed. Not every game can have spectators, because of physical restrictions, but now COVID has an additional restriction on it. And yet games are now more accessible than they were to people over the last few months, because they're being streamed and people can just click on a phone or a laptop and get it, or there can be recordings made available afterwards. And that, I think, is a massive change, and trying to get a widespread rollout of that and making it as professional and as slick as possible, I think, is going to be the sort of next challenge and big opportunity for clubs.
There isn't a day that goes by on Sport for Business when we're not talking in some way, shape or form about streaming. Only this morning we had an interview with a US agency that has produced a new report looking at the ways in which different sporting bodies are getting involved in it, how it's being monetized, how it is both expanding the reach and visibility of the sport, but also how it's factoring into the bottom line as well. Hockey, we spoke about it at the beginning there, was really on the crest of a wave. We had the women getting to the World Cup final. We had the men and the women both in playoff action for the Olympics. The women got through there. We know the women's team in particular now as individuals and as stars within sport. All of that momentum that was building there is something which a challenger sport like hockey really needs and thrives on. Do you feel as though 2020 just came at the worst possible time for that? Or is it something that the strength of character of the players and the size of the Olympic opportunity will actually see it picking right back up and accelerating again early in the new year?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to predict where we sort of feel like we'll pick up again, but there was probably never, is there ever going to be a good year to have something like this happen? Okay, our first Olympics was always going to be a big milestone for the ladies team, but it will show, I think, the ability or the sort of the perseverance that the team will have as a team and as individuals. And obviously the individuals will be training away even during lockdown, doing their individual training and physical training. And I think the structures will be there and the team spirit will be there that they'll be able to pick up, reasonably seamlessly in the new year. We know that there is different definitions around elite sport and what are elite teams and everything else. The international teams clearly meet that definition. We need to make sure that if there are further restrictions, that government recognises that those teams should and could continue to train safely together and make sure that they do get a very good run towards Tokyo next year, assuming it still takes place, which is probably still a question mark, but hopefully with vaccines and everything else, it will go ahead. And then I think the other aspect is the degree to which employers in particular have always shown those national players massive support in terms of giving them paid or additional unpaid leave, support with expenses, and obviously it varies person by person and employer by employer, but there's no reason to think that support will not be as fantastic again next year.
We've interviewed a number of the players over the course of the last number of months, and they are an exceptional bunch. Very well grounded. They really will be great ambassadors for the sport. Before I let you go, I just want to bring you into your day job for a spell. Your EY's lead on Brexit. The EY Hockey League is an Island of Ireland league, so there will be matches taking place between teams from Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. Is Brexit something that we are fully up to speed on in regards to sport, or is it something that we'll be able to continue based along the model that looks as though it's coming into shape now?
Yeah, I think it'll be something that will continue hopefully as it was and with minimum disruption. There shouldn't be issues around crossing the border from a people mobility point of view because we've preserved that freedom under common travel arrangements. I probably bring it back to, pre-Brexit, obviously the key sort of dynamic between the UK and Northern Ireland and the Republic was the Good Friday Agreement. That is always something that has been focused on cross-community initiatives. I think hockey is one of the best examples of that. It's run cross-community in the north for domestic leagues. It now runs on an all-island basis as well. And that it only improves the amount of community contact we have between communities north and south. So we would expect that to continue. The hockey community in the north is massively vibrant, really successful in its own right. It is a huge part of the overall hockey community and the sort of infrastructure and expertise and contribution to hockey in Ireland. And that all-island aspect to it is something that is just absolutely core to how hockey in Ireland works, and we'd look forward to that continuing without any sort of impediment.
Well, the sport does seem to be in a pretty good position at the moment. You've played your part in that with the support from EY of the National Hockey League. We will just have to look forward with optimism to the return of those matches and, of course, to the Olympics. But for the moment, Simon MacAllister from EY, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thank you very much.